Righto, Tally there champs. Today we're going to have a look at the TUF Gaming motherboard, the Z790 or Z790-PLUS Wi-Fi motherboard, and believe me now, you do not need any more than this motherboard. This will be able to overclock your 13th or 12th gen Intel CPU to the maximum. Trust me on this. And I will be telling you sort of the differences between that and this Prime here. So you might be wanting to choose between this one, the Prime or TUF. Which one should I go? I'll tell you this, some of the differences in a sec. So myself, this is my motherboard Z690, and I have a 13900KS, so the best CPU you can get for gaming, and an RTX 4090, right? And you might be thinking, why are you buying sort of mid-range components for, a mid-range sort of motherboard, even though, look at it, how high-end does this thing look? It looks like a high-end motherboard. And people might be thinking, well, why don't you buy the Maximus, the, expensive ROG motherboard with all those sort of components you have? So the reason I buy the Prime motherboard or the TUF is because you don't need anything more than this. This will overclock your parts to the max. It doesn't matter. The VRM can handle 6 GHz 13900KS, alright? So my Z690 handles that no problem, 6 GHz. I run at 5.8, but it handles 6 GHz no problem. So you can overclock to the max. You get everything you need, right? Wi-Fi 6E. 3 M.2s, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I said 3, 4 M.2s. The inbuilt sound is good. PCI Express 5, 16 times slot here. 4 DIMM slots for your RAM. And by the way, I actually have a DDR4 motherboard. I recommend you get a DDR5 motherboard now. I think it's definitely time, and this is the one I recommend. I'll leave a link in the description, especially if you're not going to overclock. If you just want 24/7 stability, this crucial RAM is the best stuff to get. I'll leave a link to that. But if you do want to overclock, this will overclock to the max too. That includes the RAM too, right? You'll be able to get the fancy RAM. This will support it because Asus are really good with supporting that high-end RAM sort of stuff. So, you got USB Type-C, 2.5 gig networking, RGB headers, everything you need and nothing you don't need, all right? Rock solid. I got to tell you now, when you use Asus, you use the Asus BIOS, and any overclocker, anyone that puts computers together, any system builder will tell you Asus BIOS is 100 times better than everyone else. It's not even close. So you'll be able to get easy overclock. It's really easy to use. I've never had a problem with Asus stuff. If you want to know sort of like the difference here, which one would I get out of these, sort of like the Prime and the TUF here, I would get the Prime. You can see there you got an extra heatsink for the M.2. So you can see you got an extra heat shield. That one doesn't have it. You can see there the difference in the sound, onboard sound. You get, extra caps there. So you get a little bit better onboard sound. And other than that, pretty similar. Although I just think the white one, for me personally, just looks a little bit more high-end than the TUF. There's not a great deal of difference in the price between these two, but the Prime definitely just looks that touch more high-end. But if you're going to get a dark sort of system, maybe you get this one, the TUF. But me, I would get the Prime. So, as I said, these motherboards are sort of not entry level, but they're sort of mid-range, but they look high-end. So that's the really good thing about them. They will take anything you throw at it. Max overclocks, as I said, my system's overclocked to the max and no problems with these. People think you need like higher-end VRMs. You don't. Not for 6 gigahertz, believe me, you don't. So if this is a mid-range motherboard that looks sort of high-end, why would you go to the high-end if it has everything you need? Well, if you want like the highest-end sort of system, a really swanky build, yes, you'll go get a Maximus or an Apex or whatever the hell it is, the top Asus motherboards. With those, you can get like 10 gig networking, you can get PCI Express 5 M.2. Now, if you want the fastest storage, if you want the latest PCI Express 5 M.2 NVMe's, you need to go and get, a Maximus or one of the high-end ROG motherboards. For me, PCI Express 4 is fast enough, which these are PCI Express 4. So for me, I would just get the Prime. If you're getting a black build, get the TUF. I've got to say, they've never let me down. I've always bought a Prime or TUF as an entry-level motherboard. I get the highest end parts. They overclock to the max. Everything I want done, super reliable, BIOS that doesn't do my head in. These things are just like, I cannot praise them enough because I don't have to spend $1,000 on the motherboard. I can, go extra tier in my graphics card because I'm saving money on the motherboard. And it does everything I need. Everything. TUF or Prime, which way would you go? Catch you in the next one. Tally ho.